This is a video about the use of manipulatives of Rekenrek and Cuisenaire rods. So, first we're going to look at Rekenrek. And it's a Scandinavian thing. Rekenrek. So Rekenrek is really something that you can, it's pretty simple, you can make it in your classroom. And this is cardstock paper. So it's kind of thick and sturdy. And then you have a pipe cleaner that you can poke a hole through and kind of make a band going across. And then we just have a bunch of beads that we put in here. And we specifically put 5 of 2 different colors on each side. And this is to get kids to know their multiples of numbers that add up to 10. So if I move 2 over here, and if I spread these out a little bit and I show them to kids and say, well, what's on the left and what's on the right? They'll go, well, 3 and 7. And then I can move these over here and say, okay, what's on the left and what's on the right? And they'll go 8 and 2. So by doing this and showing them it over and over again, they eventually learn all their tens, what adds up to 10. And that helps them later on when they're trying to add quicker with bigger numbers and stuff like that, is because they can recognize what adds up to 10. So that's a Rekenrek. So the next is we're going to look at Cuisenaire rods. And this is actually a brand name, Cuisenaire rods. But Cuisenaire rods are these. And basically what they are is they work with base 10 blocks. Like this is a 10, and it's the same size as base 10 blocks, and this is a 1, which is the same size as the 1 in the base 10 blocks. But base 10 blocks don't have all the numbers in between. So this is a 1, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, these, some of them, they'll come with the numbers actually on them. So, like if I was just shown this one, I wouldn't know if it was a 5 or a 6 or a 7. But when I put it in the group, then I can know, well, this is 10, 9, 8, 7. So this is a 7. And a lot of times you wouldn't know that unless the number was on it, or you just have them all kind of memorized. But what we can use this with kids is when we first start talking about addition. So this is a 2 and a 3, and then the 2 and 3 is the same length as a 5. So they can learn addition using Cuisenaire rods. The other thing that they can use with Cuisenaire rods is your least common multiple and your greatest common divisor. So let's look at 6 and 8, and we'll do this this is a 6, and this is an 8, and we're going to look for greatest common divisor or greatest common factor. So kids will take these and say, well, this won't go into 6 evenly, and 4 won't go into 6 evenly, but 4 will go into 8 evenly, so 4 is a factor of 8. And then I'll look at 3, and 3 will go into 6 evenly, but if I put 3's together, they're too long for 8, so 3 doesn't work. Now 2's, if I put 3 2's together, that'll make 6. And if I put 4 2's together, that'll make 8. And likewise, if I put 6 1's together, that'll make 6. And if I put 8 1's together, that will make 8. So all of the factors of 6 are 3, 2, and 1, and the factors of 8 are 4, 2, and 1. And kids can get that by just saying, well, find all the blocks that you can make 8 with, and find all the blocks you can make 6 with. And some of them will do things like they'll say, well, if there's 5 and 1, But then we just explain that we want them to have all the same blocks. I can't make them all with the 5s. So when we're looking at this, what's the biggest number that's in common? Well, they have a 1 in common and they have a 2 in common, and that's it. So 2 is the greatest common divisor of 6 and 8. And you're not going to call it greatest common divisor. You're just basically going to say, find all the divisors of 6 and find all the divisors of 8. Now, what's the biggest one they have in common? Don't call it that. Just say, what's the biggest one they have in common? And they'll just say, oh, it's 2. And then they eventually learn later on, oh, that's what we were doing. We were finding the greatest common divisor. So, now, let's use the 6 and 8. But with this, instead of finding greatest common divisor, let's find least common multiple. So least common multiples, all we're going to do is we're going to get our 6 and our 8 rods out, and we're just going to use them. And we're going to make trains where we just put the same thing right in line with each other. So the 6 is smaller, so I put another 6 on. So now the 8 is smaller, so I put another 8 on. And now the 6 is smaller, and we keep doing this. And then the 8 is smaller. And now the 6 is smaller. And I can stop here because now they're the same length. So what is that length that gives us the same distance? Well, 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. Or 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24. So the least common multiple, where I get the same length, is 24 for 6 and 8. So these are manipulatives that you can use with kids that can visually see these concepts and what we're looking at for either addition or with the Cuisenaire rods with greatest common divisor and least common multiple.